Answer the question. Those 4 words became a battle cry when Rep. Rosa DeLauro cornered Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi over devastating ATF budget cuts. What you're about to witness isn't just political theater. It's a future AG refusing to explain how slashing 541 investigators and 18-6 agents makes America safer from gun trafficking. Watch Bondi's defense crumble in real time.
DeLauro?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick note before I get to my questions. Fentanyl seizures are down 30% compared to last year, and that data is coming from the Customs and Border Patrol, CBP. I don't make it up, but fentanyl seizures are down. At your confirmation hearing, you asserted that you will do everything in your power to prevent illegal gun runners in our country. Your budget request for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, proposes a cut of 26% below the current level. How can you justify such a massive cut without inevitably weakening ATF's ability to help our state and local law enforcement fight illegal gun trafficking? How many ATF law enforcement officers and industry operations investigators do you anticipate will be lost to attrition as a result of this funding reduction you're proposing?
So, I am a career prosecutor, and I believe in keeping America safe, making America safe. First, what we're doing is ATF is going to be brought over with DEA. Everyone knows, everyone sitting up here, guns and drugs go together. They go together. We're going to make it more efficient. What I will tell you will not be happening is ATF agents will not be knocking on the doors of legal gun owners in the middle of the night asking them about their guns. They're going to be out on the streets. If I can finish, they're going to be out on the streets.
I have three
No,
minutes.
you asked me a question.
I did, and
you asked me a question.
and you
I'm
haven't
gonna
answered
answer
my
it.
question.
So they're going to be out on the streets working
You haven't
hand in hand
answered my
with
question.
DEA
You
to
haven't
violate.
answered. Mr. Chairman, I'd like an answer to my question. And the question is not being answered. How many ATF law enforcement officers and industry operations investigators do you anticipate will be lost to attrition as a result of the funding reduction you are proposing? You are proposing a 26% cut to ATF for fiscal year 2026, as well as a 4.4% cut to DEA. So you're going to merge the two agencies together, and then you're going to shortchange their resources, so neither one of them will be able to do the job that they have been designed to do. You've got a 34% cut to the high-intensity drug trafficking areas program, no dedicated money at all for the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force. So, my view, it's fair to say that the Trump administration proposal shortchanges federal efforts to stop illegal gun trafficking and federal efforts to stop the flow of dangerous illegal drugs like fentanyl.
As I was attempting to answer your question very calmly, unlike you,
Excuse me,
what I was
Madam
saying,
Attorney General. Answer yes or no. Tell me what the numbers are. I don't want to hear all of your filibuster about this. Go ahead, please. Tell us the numbers.
So we are reorganizing. ATF agents want to be out on the street.
Okay,
working
let me
with
answer the
DEA
question for you.
agents.
I'm going to answer it for you. Page, Mr. Chairman, you give me a certain amount of time, and I have a high respect for you, but I don't have to listen, nor do my colleagues have to listen to a filibuster when it's a simple question. But I have an answer to your question. It's page 146 of the department's fiscal year 2026 budget, and the performance summary explicitly says, and let me quote, ATF will eliminate 541 industry operation investigators, reducing ATF's capacity to regulate the firearms and explosive industries by approximately 40% in fiscal year 2026. ATF will perform fewer regulatory inspections. And the department summary goes on to say, and let me quote, ATF anticipates a reduction of approximately 284 support personnel and 186 agents based on historical attrition patterns, and these personnel cuts will impact ATF across various functions, unquote. If the capacity to regulate firearms industry is reduced by 40%, if you are losing 186 ATF law enforcement agents, on top of that, it is clear the direction you are headed with this budget, and that's what it is, isn't it? The proposal will weaken our ability to stop gun trafficking, and it will greatly reduce ATF support for state and local law enforcement that helps them prevent and solve violent crimes. It's a bad proposal.
Do you want to hear my answer in 3 seconds? You mentioned regulatory functions. We will not be having ATF agents go to the doors of gun owners in the middle of the night asking them about their guns, period. They will be out on the streets with DEA, guns and drugs.
How many
go
are
together.
gone?
It will be attrition. We are not firing agents. They
Who are-
will be working.
how
with
many have
DEA.
taken attrition?
Can I tell you that they all want to be on the streets? They want to be doing their jobs. They want to be
But you're getting them
seizing
off the
guns.
streets.
They want
You're getting
to.
them
We're
off the
putting
streets.
them on the
And-
streets.
and-
They want to be working with
You
DEA.
are getting them off
We
the
will be
streets. There is no
efficient.
clear, and Mr.
We will
Chairman,
be
I yield back my
efficient.
time. I yield back my time. Let's get some answers here.
What Rep. Rosa DeLauro exposed in that hearing wasn't just a budget
much, Mr.
dispute,
Chairman.
it
Just
was a
a quick
masterclass
note,
in
get
how
to my
evasion
questions.
becomes policy and how
Fentanyl
cutting
seizures
enforcement
are down
becomes a feature, not a
30%
bug,
compared
of the
to
Trump
last year.
administration's
And
approach
that
to gun
data
trafficking.
is coming
The
from
numbers DeLauro
Customs
read from
and Border
page
Patrol,
26 of the
CBP.
DOJ
I
budget
don't make it up.
tell a
But
devastating story.
Fentanyl seizures
ATF
are
will
down.
eliminate 501
At your
industry
confirmation
operations
hearing,
investigators,
you asserted that
reducing
you will do
regulatory
everything in your
capacity
power
by
to prevent
at
illegal gun
2084
runners in our
support
country.
personnel and
Your budget
186
request for the
agents
Bureau of
lost to
Alcohol, Tobacco,
attrition,
Firearms, and
and you're
Explosives,
looking at
ATF proposes
systematic
a cut of
dismantling
26%
disguised as
below the current
reorganization.
level.
When DeLauro
How can
asked
you
for
justify such a
specifics,
massive cut
Bondi
without
defaulted to
inevitably
talking points about
weakening
midnight
ATF's
raids on
ability,
gun owners,
to help our
a
state and
deflection
local law
that reveals how
enforcement
this
fight illegal gun
administration frames the
trafficking.
debate.
How many
That
ATF law
deflection
enforcement
matters
officers
because
and
it
industry
exposes the
operations
underlying
investigators do
philosophy.
you anticipate
Instead of
will be
addressing
lost
how
to
fewer
attrition
investigators
as
will
a result
impact
of this
illegal
funding
gun
reduction
trafficking
you're
networks, Bondi pivots to protecting law-abiding gun owners from government overreach.
I'm a career
It's a
prosecutor,
classic misdirect that
and
treats
I
enforcement
believe
capacity as
in
inherently
keeping
threatening to
America safe,
constitutional
making
rights
America
rather than
safe.
essential
First,
for
what we're
stopping
doing
criminals who exploit
is
weak
ATF
oversight.
is
The
going to be
proposed
brought
merger
over
with DEA
with
sounds efficient
DEA.
until you examine
Everyone
the resource
knows,
allocation.
everyone sitting up here,
Bondi
guns
claims
and drugs
guns and
go
drugs
together.
go
They go
together,
together. We're
which is
going
true,
to make it more efficient.
but then proposes
What I will tell
cutting
you will
both
not be
agencies'
happening is
budgets
ATF agents will
simultaneously.
not be
A
knocking on the
26%
doors of
cut to
legal gun
ATF and
owners in the middle
4.4%
of the
cut
night
to
asking them
DEA
about
while
their
merging
guns.
operations
They're going to be out
doesn't
on the
create
streets. If I can
synergy.
finish.
It
They're going
creates
to be out on the
capacity gaps.
streets.
I have three.
You
No,
can't
no,
do
you
more
asked me a
with
question.
demonstrably
Well,
less.
you asked me a question.
you
I'm
haven't
gonna
Especially when
answered my
answer.
tracking
question.
So they're going to
firearms
be out on the
requires
streets
specialized
You
working
haven't
hand in
expertise that
answered
takes
my
years to
question.
develop.
You
to
haven't
violate-
DeLauro's
Mr.
persistence
Chairman,
on
I'd like
specific
an answer
numbers
to my
wasn't
question.
grandstanding.
And the question is not
It was
being
accountability.
answered. How
When public
many
officials claim reorganization
ATF
will
law
improve
enforcement
effectiveness
officers and
while
industry
cutting
operations
resources,
investigators do you
the burden of
anticipate
proof
will
should
be
be on
lost
them to explain
attrition
how.
as
Bondi's
a result
repeated
of
evasions
the funding
suggest there
reduction
is
you are
no
proposing.
coherent
You are
explanation
proposing a
beyond political
26%
preference for
cut
smaller
to
federal
ATF
enforcement
for
footprint.
fiscal year
Notice
2026,
DeLauro's
as
tactical
well as a
approach.
4.4%
She didn't
cut
accept
to DEA.
generalities
So you're
about
gonna merge
efficiency
the
or
two agencies
reorganization.
together, and then
She
you're going to
demanded
shortchange their
exact
resources,
numbers.
so neither one
5
of them will be able to
investigators,
do the job that they have been
1896
designed
agents,
to do.
40%
You've got a
capacity
34%
reduction.
cut to the
By reading
high-intensity
directly
drug
from the
trafficking
administration's
areas
own
program.
budget
No dedicated
documents,
money at
she
all for the
eliminated Bondi's
organized
ability
crime
to
drug
claim
enforcement task force.
misrepresentation or
So,
partisan
my view,
interpretation.
fair to
This
say
forced
that the Trump
Bondi into
administration
increasingly
proposal
desperate
shortchanges
deflections about midnight
federal efforts
raids,
to stop
revealing the
illegal
nominee's
gun
inability to
trafficking and
defend her
federal
own
efforts
department's
to stop the
proposals
flow
with
of
facts rather
dangerous
than
illegal drugs
fear-mongering.
like
The
fentanyl.
real-world impact extends beyond
As I was
statistics.
attempting to
Those
answer
541
your question
eliminated
very
investigators
calmly,
currently
unlike you,
conduct compliance inspections that help
Excuse
identify
me,
straw
what the,
purchases
excuse
and
me,
illegal
what I was
trafficking.
Madam
saying,
Attorney General. Answer
Industry
yes or no.
operations
Tell me what the numbers are. I
investigators
don't want to
trace
hear
firearm
all
sales
of your
that end up in
filibuster
criminal
about this.
networks.
Go ahead.
When that
Please,
capacity
tell us the numbers.
disappears,
So
the
we
gap
are
isn't filled by good
reorganizing.
intentions or
ATF agents
streamlined
want to be
bureaucracy.
out on the streets.
It's filled by
Okay,
criminals
let me
who
let me
exploit
answer the question
reduced
for you.
oversight.
I'm going to answer
State
it for
and
you.
local law
Page-
enforcement depend on ATF technical
Mr. Chairman, you
expertise
give
for
me
complex
a certain
firearms
amount
cases.
of time, and I have a high
Reducing
respect
federal
for you,
agent
but I don't have
support
to
means
listen,
local
nor do my
departments
colleagues have to
handle
listen to a
sophisticated
filibuster
trafficking
when it's a
networks with
simple
fewer
question.
resources
But I
and
have an
less
answer to your
specialized
question.
knowledge.
It's
That's
page
not
146
theoretical. It
of the
translates to
Department's fiscal
unsolved
year
cases and
2026
continued
budget.
violence in
And the
communities
performance
already
summary
struggling with gun
explicitly
crime.
says, and let me
Bondi's
quote,
promise that agents will be
ATF
on the
will
streets.
eliminate
Rather than conducting regulatory
541
functions,
industry
misunderstands
operation
how effective enforcement
investigators,
works.
reducing
Street-level
ATF's
operations depend on
capacity
intelligence
to regulate
gathered
the
through
firearm
regulatory
and
oversight.
explosive
Compliance
industries by
inspections
approximately
identify patterns that
40%
inform
in
criminal
fiscal year
investigations.
2026.
Separating these
ATF
functions
will
weakens both.
perform
The broader
fewer
pattern reveals an
regulatory,
administration approach that treats
inspections.
federal
And
law
the
enforcement
department
as
summary goes
inherently
on to say,
suspect
and let me
rather than
quote,
necessary for
ATF
public safety.
anticipates
When your
a
default
reduction of
assumption is that
approximately
agents are more likely to harass
284
citizens
support
than catch
personnel
criminals,
and
you design
186
policies
agents
that
based
constrain
on
rather than enable
historical
effective
attrition
enforcement.
patterns.
That
And these
philosophy
personnel
might
cuts
satisfy
will
political
impact
constituencies,
ATF across
but it makes
various
communities less
functions,
safe.
unquote.
DeLauro's
If the capacity
frustration
to
with
regulate
Bondi's
firearms industry
non-answers
is
reflects a
reduced
deeper
by 40%,
institutional problem.
if you are losing
When nominees
186
can't
ATF
or
law
won't
enforcement
provide
agents,
basic
on
information
top of
about
that,
how their
it is
policies
clear
will
the
work,
direction you are headed
confirmation
with this
hearings
budget,
become performance rather
that's-
than oversight.
That's what it is.
The
isn't it?
Senate's
The proposal
constitutional
will
role
weaken
requires
our ability
substantive answers to
stop
substantive
gun
questions,
trafficking, and it will
especially for
greatly reduce
positions with
ATF
life and
support
death
to state
responsibilities.
and local law
This
enforcement
exchange
that
crystallizes
helps
why
them prevent
elections
and
have
solve violent
consequences
crime.
that extend
It's a
far
bad
beyond
proposal.
partisan politics.
Do you want to
The
hear my
choice to
answer in 3
prioritize
seconds?
ideology
You
over
mentioned
enforcement
regulatory
capacity
functions.
affects real
we will not
investigations,
be having
real cases,
ATF
and
agents
real
go to the
communities
doors
dealing
of gun
with gun
owners
violence.
in the middle of
When
the night,
confirmation hearings
asking
reveal
them
that
about
kind
their
of
guns,
disconnect
period.
between
They will be
campaign
out on the
promises and
streets
governing
with
reality,
DEA, guns
citizens
and
How many
should
are
pay
gone?
attention because the costs will
we
be
are not,
measured
it will
in
be
public
attrition.
safety,
We
not
are not
political
firing
points.